I stand frozen on the freshly poured driveway of my new colonial-style house in Pinecrest Estates as Karen Harrington hurls the HOA welcome packet at my feet. The glossy rulebook scatters across the concrete like fallen leaves, the official crest of Pinecrest perfection, mocking me from below. No resident of mine turns our neighborhood into some internet pipe dream. Her voice booms through the cul-de-sac, bouncing off every identical beige siding wall. The vein in her temple pulses beneath her perfectly coiffed blonde bob, a warning sign I've learned to recognize from the 3 open houses I toured while the rest of the board smiled like sharks. I grip my laptop bag tighter, the smooth leather holding 18 months of code I poured my soul in while the world slept. Seller Sync isn't a pipe dream, Karen. It's inventory management software for independent retailers who can't afford the big commercial systems. She spits the word like it tastes foul. With proper neighborhood compliance, you could work for a real office in the city. I don't want to work for someone else's vision. The words come out steadier than I feel. Seller Sync already has beta testers willing to pay. 3 local shops. Stop. Karen's face flushes the exact shade of the HOA-approved front door red. President Karen Harrington, self-proclaimed guardian of property values, now looking at her newest homeowner like I suggested painting the house hot pink. This ends now. No compliance, no peace. Pack up your little garage office and leave the spirit of Pinecrest tonight. My hand trembles against the laptop strap, but I lift my chin. You can't be serious. Try me. Her eyes, the same icy blue as the welcome to perfection sign, hardened to steel. 2 weeks ago, this driveway hosted a different scene. The welcome committee had prepared a special barbecue to celebrate the new family down the street whose kids were already enrolled in the approved private academy. My next-door neighbor beamed under the spotlight of Karen's approval while I picked at my approved gluten-free potato salad. Invisible as usual. Did you hear about her little project? The neighbor had mentioned, attempting to include me. She built something that tracks inventory for small stores. Karen barely glanced up from her clipboard. Hobby skills don't build property values. Compliance does. She pointed her pen toward the beaming family. Your new neighbors understand that. 20 years of following every single rule, and now their lawn is the model for the entire block. The software actually works really well, I offered quietly. The corner coffee shop has been using it for their stock rotation. Karen patted my arm with the distracted air she reserved for children's sidewalk chalk art. Maybe after a few years of proper HOA living, you could revisit your little computer project, sweetie. That night, I stayed up until 3 a.m., fine-tuning my business projections while the rest of Pinecrest slept under their matching porch lights. By morning, I had decided the HOA rulebook could wait. My acceptance letter wouldn't expire, but my market window would. Now Karen steps between me and my garage, her president voice activated. Dear, let's discuss this rationally. There's nothing to discuss. She turns away, dismissing me like yesterday's violation notice. The neighbor tries a gentler approach, touching my elbow. Karen just wants what's best for the community, Era. We all do. The beaming family appears in their doorway, their expression pained. Maybe there's a compromise. You could run your little business part-time and keep the garage door closed like the rules say. I straighten my shoulders, something shifting inside me. The cul-de-sac suddenly seems smaller, as if I've grown beyond its perfectly trimmed hedges. I don't need 3 years of $500 monthly fines to start something I can launch now. For the first time, I hear the strength in my own voice. My eyes meet Karen's directly instead of dropping in deference. She takes a small step back on her sensible beige heels. This fantasy ends tonight. Karen snatches my printed business plan from the mailbox where I'd foolishly left it, ripping the bound document in half with one violent motion. The sound of tearing paper cuts through the quiet neighborhood like a chainsaw. The neighbor's gaze darts to the curtain windows. What will the other streets think? The Johnson's daughter just got her lawn approved for the annual contest. The beaming family watches from their doorway, silent now. The community peacemakers unwilling to challenge the hierarchy that keeps Karen at the top. The sprinklers kick on automatically. HOA timer perfect when I carry the last box into my garage. Through the mist, I can see every curtain drawn on the block. No one watches me set up. I place my laptop carefully on the folding table, the only possession that really matters now. The garage door rumbles down, and I pull my chair in, the sound strangely like freedom. 3 days later, I stare at my bank account on the cracked screen of my laptop. $1,243.17. The sun glows like a countdown clock through the single garage window of my 1,200 square foot prison of independence. The walls, painted the exact HOA-mandated soft taupe, seem to press closer with each passing day. The notification appears in my email with clinical precision. Your first violation notice has been issued. $500 for visible commercial activity. Karen didn't even wait a full week. Below it, another notice announces the second fine for non-approved garage usage. I switch to text messages where my neighbor's name appears. They've forbidden me from speaking to you at block parties. The message reads, I'm sorry. I try to talk to Karen. My finger hovers before I close the window. What could I say? That I understand her choosing the HOA over basic decency? That I forgive her for standing there while Karen tore my plan in half? The wall calendar catches my eye. A free promotional item from the bank that rejected my business account because I wasn't professionally zoned. Red X's through community events, holidays, and the annual HOA potluck. Visual confirmation of what I already know. I'm completely on my own at 26 with $2,000 in fines already and no safety net beneath this high-wire act. My phone buzzes. Mr. Harlan, my old coding mentor, confirming our coffee meetup downtown. The man who recognized my talent when the neighborhood saw only rebellion. The one who promised to connect me with a potential angel investor. A lifeline. 2 hours later, I watch Mr. Harlan's Adam's apple bob as he struggles to meet my eyes across the wobbly cafe table. Karen called me yesterday. He says, voice pitched lower than necessary. She made it clear that helping you would jeopardize the community tech grant. My stomach drops. She threatened the neighborhood funding if you helped me? Mr. Harlan adjusts his glasses. The board and her husband's company have a long-standing partnership. It's complicated. It's not complicated, I say, words sharper than intended. It's sabotage. He pushes his chair back. I'm sorry, Era. I truly believe in your potential, but not enough to risk anything for it. I close my laptop with a snap that makes him flinch. The betrayals continue like dominoes. A text from my old friend Devin. Can't make it Saturday. My wife golfs with Karen. It's complicated. A formal letter from the local credit union denying my small business line of credit. Insufficient collateral or income history. Each rejection carries the invisible fingerprints of President Karen Harrington, who would rather bankrupt a homeowner than see her succeed on terms other than hers. The universe delivers its own blow on a rainy Tuesday. A delivery van rear-ends my Civic at the stop sign, crumpling the bumper and shattering a taillight. The repair estimate, $1,200, might as well be $1 million when stacked on top of the latest $750 fine for unapproved signage, my tiny cellar sink sticker on the garage window. The officer who takes the report glances at my address and notes my age. You should call the HOA president, young lady. She'll help you sort this out. I smile tightly. I'll handle it myself, thanks. My bank balance dwindles with terrifying speed. Next fine due in 10 days, $875. Current balance after groceries and the minimum insurance payment, $43.62. Not enough for even the cheapest repair. Certainly not enough for next month's existence. My diet narrows to what stretches furthest. Oatmeal in the morning, lentils in the evening. The garage heating unit coughs to life sporadically. A preview of the coming winter when the temperature will drop below the HOA-mandated comfortable living standard. I work on cellar sink code until my eyes burn, fighting bugs I can't solve alone. Each error message a reminder of my isolation. Job applications for real office work vanish into the digital void, each one stamped with the invisible mark of insufficiency. No degree in proper neighborhood living, no experience. The paradox of needing compliance to get compliance tightens like a noose. Former neighbors post pictures from the annual block party, pool parties, and perfectly staged barbecues, moving forward on the approved path while I huddle in my cold garage, watching the world advance without me. Then, like a match struck in darkness, a small miracle arrives. The corner coffee shop confirms they'll continue using my beta version. Better yet, they'll pay the $125 monthly fee I tentatively suggested. A second retailer, Sunshine Market, signs on the same week after a quick demo of the inventory tracking. The first business check arrives on a Thursday, exactly when I'm contemplating the unthinkable, calling the HOA office and admitting defeat, accepting their terms. The paper feels unexpectedly substantial in my hands. Official in a way that validates everything I've sacrificed. $250. Not enough to save me, but enough to remind me why I'm fighting. I place the check on my folding table, studying it under the garage's harsh fluorescent light. With winter approaching and my car effectively dead, this rate of growth can't sustain me. The math is merciless. 2 clients at $125 monthly equals $3,000 annually. My fines alone are $9,000 per year. As I hold that first check, I wonder if I should swallow my pride and call Karen, accepting her community standards to make life easier, or is this small validation proof I should double down on my own path, even if it means more months of struggle? The oatmeal is getting old, but her conditions would taste far more bitter. The check sits on my table, both answer and question, while the winter rain beats against a garage door like tiny angry fists. Next week, the Pinecrest Gazette lands on my doorstep with a thud. I wouldn't have subscribed, but the neighbor across the street slides it under my door each morning with a yellow sticky note. Thought you might want to see this. Today's note has an exclamation point. I unfold the paper to find Karen's face smiling from the front page. Neighborhood excellence in Pinecrest stretches across the board. The headline screams, with a photo of Karen, her husband, and the beaming family posed in front of the community clubhouse. All our residents have always valued compliance above all else, Karen states in the second paragraph, her pearl necklace projecting moral authority. My phone buzzes with notifications. 3 neighbors have tagged me on the community Facebook group. Saw your name mentioned. Taking a compliance break? The monthly newsletter arrives with no comment, listing me as on temporary leave rather than acknowledging seller sync. I drop the paper into the recycling bin, but can't escape Karen's voice streaming from the neighbor's radio through the thin garage wall. The most valuable gift we can give our community is guidance towards sensible living paths. My tiny garage falls silent when the electricity cuts out mid-broadcast. The laptop battery shows 18%, hardly enough to finish debugging the new module. 36 hours without power according to the utility company. Non-payment disconnection after the latest lien. The rain falls in sheets as I walk 3 miles to the public library. Laptop hugged to my chest beneath a flimsy umbrella. The librarian nods when I order my usual small coffee refill once for 7 hours at the back corner table near the outlet. Phone call for you, error misses. Peterson says from her garden when I return home after dark. I borrow her ancient landline 3 times weekly for client calls. Yesterday, I discovered the free online coding forums that might save the cost of tutorial subscriptions. My air mattress now rests directly on the garage floor. The folding table sold for $85 on Craigslist. Groceries for almost 2 weeks if I stick to oatmeal and lentils. My Civic sits abandoned behind the community dumpster. Engine seized after a grinding metallic shriek. Bus schedules now line my pockets, highlighted with transfer points. You eating today, honey? The woman with salt and pepper curls watches me from behind the refreshment table at the Chamber of Commerce mixer. I hadn't planned to attend, but the flyer promised free appetizers and potential client connections. Her eyes travel to my collarbones visible beneath my only button-up shirt. I'm Denise, she says, sliding an extra plate toward me. The caterers always bring too much. Before I can respond, she's piling tiny sandwiches and fruit skewers on the plate. Take some for tomorrow, too, she whispers, wrapping several in napkins. The variety overwhelms me. Cucumber with cream cheese, ham with mustard, chicken salad with grapes, flavors I haven't tasted in weeks. My eyes burn with unexpected tears as I whisper thank you. Inventory software for retailers, huh? The woman examining my laptop screen wears a crisp white button-down and charcoal slacks, her silver bob cut with mathematical precision. Sabine Keller, according to the business card she handed me minutes ago. 20 years in supply chain development, former CTO of logistics now. Yes, Seller Sync tracks rotation, inventory, and schedules for independent stores. I recite the pitch polish from repetition. Sabine clicks through the interface, her expression impassive. You're solving the wrong problem for the wrong market. My spine stiffens. I've invested everything in this approach. And that's exactly the problem. She leans back, assessing me with cool gray eyes. Is your goal to prove Karen wrong or to build something that works? The question hits like a slap. To build something that works, obviously. Really? Because independent shops operate on razor-thin margins. They'll test your software, appreciate the elegance, then stick with their paper ledgers rather than pay monthly fees. She sips her sparkling water. Meanwhile, retail chains have purchasing power and genuine pain points around multi-location inventory. But I've been focused on single stores, not chains. That's called a pivot era. The question isn't whether you're smart enough. It's whether you're flexible enough to succeed. My shoulders, rigid with defense, gradually relax as the logic crystallizes. The path ahead suddenly appears clearer, like fog lifting from the perfectly manicured lawn outside. Adrian, this is the young woman I mentioned. Sabine introduces me to a man with salt and pepper beard and round glasses at the Next Chamber event. Adrian Fowler runs digital strategy for the local business coalition. Adrian shakes my hand firmly. Sabine speaks highly of your coding skills. I have a spare desk in my office you're welcome to use. Better than the library for client calls. My garden neighbor leaves containers of homemade stew and roasted vegetables outside my garage door twice weekly. My garden's producing too much, her notes always claim, though winter veggies are months away. At the developer meetup a week later, 3 programmers volunteer code reviews. We all started somewhere, says Marcus, a back-end developer with 20 years experience. Besides, your data architecture is impressive for someone self-taught. The chamber president connects me with a legal clinic offering free incorporation paperwork. Everyone needs a chance to get started, she says, handing me the contact information. 4-7 intense weeks, I sleep only 4 hours, nightly rebuilding the code base. Seller Sync Solutions emerges from the ashes, a comprehensive inventory system for retail chains rather than single stores. The borrowed charcoal suit jacket hangs slightly loose on my frame as I stand before the glass headquarters of Harvest and Oak, the region's fastest-growing wine retailer chain. My heart pounds against my ribs, thumb drive clutched in my palm, containing everything I've rebuilt. The next 30 minutes will either validate everything or send me back to Karen's rulebook with my tail between my legs. The boardroom at Harvest and Oak smells of lemon polish and money. 7 executives in varying shades of charcoal suits observe me from around a mahogany table that probably costs more than my entire garage setup. I stand before them, shoulders squared, in the single business suit I own, a navy blazer and pencil skirt borrowed from Denise last night. Their gazes fix on my laptop as I connect it to their projector. Seller Sync offers inventory management built specifically for multi-location retailers. I begin, voice steady despite the flutter in my stomach. Our system integrates with your existing POS while adding specialized features the big commercial platforms lack. I click through to the working sandbox demonstration. The room shifts subtly as colorful dashboards appear, tracking fictional inventory across 6 locations. No PowerPoint promises, actual working software. This tracks not just quantity, but vintage, varietal, supplier relationships, and regional sales patterns. My fingers move confidently across the keyboard, toggling between views. Notice the security architecture, role-based access with multi-factor authentication. The CTO interrupts. What about implementation timeline? These transitions usually take 60 days from contract signature to full deployment. I slide a tablet with detailed milestone charts toward him. Week 1 is data migration and security integration. Weeks 2 through 4 involve staff training at 3 stores simultaneously. Final rollout completes by day 58 with a 2-day buffer. The CFO studies me with narrowed eyes. Return on investment. I hand him a separate folder. Complete ROI analysis showing 18-month payback period. The calculations account for reduced inventory carrying costs, minimized stockouts, and labor savings from automated purchasing. You look rather young to have this level of experience, the oldest executive states, leaning back with arms folded. I open a digital portfolio on the tablet. 12 retailers currently use our beta version. 3 chains have implemented custom versions, references included. No mention of the HOA, no emotional appeals, just business value methodically presented. 20 minutes later, they thank me and promise to be in touch. I know better than to look hopeful. I simply thank them for their time, pack my laptop, and exit with my head high. 3 days pass. My phone rings while I'm debugging the mobile interface. Miss Whitford, this is Thomas Reynolds, procurement officer at Harvest and Oak. His voice carries the measured tone of someone withholding judgment. We've been checking your references. My stomach tightens. I'm glad to hear it, including some of your hometown. A pause. I had an interesting conversation with a neighborhood president, Karen Harrington. Your neighbor, I believe. The floor seems to tilt beneath me. Of course they would call the HOA, of course. She mentioned you're just taking a break from proper community living, Reynolds continues. Seem concerned about your commitment to long-term business relationships. I steady myself against Adrian's desk. Mr. Reynolds, did my other references comment on their satisfaction with our software? They did, actually quite enthusiastically. Another pause. The CEO was particularly impressed that despite what he called neighborhood interference, you maintained absolute professionalism. I hold my breath. We'd like to offer you a master service agreement. $510,000 for implementation and 3 years of support. That's $60,000 above your quote to ensure dedicated service. The room blurs momentarily. I press the phone tighter to my ear. The contract will arrive tomorrow for your review. I thank him with remarkable composure, end the call, and sink into Adrian's chair. For 5 minutes, I stare at the ceiling, letting it wash over me. With the contract in my hand the next day, I face a moment of truth. Should I immediately call Karen to prove my success, showing her what she refused to believe? Or would true independence mean building my life without seeking her validation at all? I text Adrian instead. Within an hour, he's reviewing the payment schedule, suggesting modifications that protect my cash flow. Ask for 40% upfront instead of 30%, he marks in red ink. You'll need it for hardware and new hires. Sabine arrives that evening, legal pad in hand. This intellectual property clause needs tightening, she points out. You're licensing the software, not selling it outright. The chamber president hosts a small celebration dinner at her home. To Era's first major contract, she toasts, raising her glass. The first of many. Denise helps me tour apartments the following weekend. You need something closer to your new office, she insists, pointing to a modest but sunny 1-bedroom with actual closet space. My developer friends volunteer a weekend coding sprint to prepare for the launch, fueled by pizza and the excitement of being part of something real. None of them mention Karen. None of them say, I told you so. They focus entirely on what comes next. 3 weeks into implementation, my neighbor Serena calls. I nearly dropped my phone seeing her name on the screen. Did you know you're in the wine industry weekly? Her voice sounds uncertain. There's an article about Cellar Sync Solutions. I set down my coffee. I didn't know they'd published it yet. Karen saw it too. A hesitation. She said it must be a different Whitford. I almost laugh. There aren't many of us. The next day, a text from another neighbor appears. Hope you're eating properly. The local business journal emails requesting an interview about the hometown success story. The chamber that once shunned me now offers a speaking opportunity on entrepreneurship. Their certainty about my failure is beginning to crumble publicly. One headline at a time. I spot them the moment I pull into the circular driveway of the community clubhouse. Karen's familiar figure framed in the bay window, along with a beaming family and Serena. Exactly like the night she hurled a rulebook at my feet. 3 years since the rain pelted my shoulders as I sat at my garage office. Thanksgiving, the most American form of emotional hostage-taking. They're making an effort, Serena had insisted over the phone 3 weeks ago. Her voice carried the practiced neutrality of someone who'd spent a lifetime mediating HOA storms. Karen's been seeing specialists for her stress. The legal bills are substantial. I adjust my rear-view mirror, catching my reflection. The gaunt rule breaker is gone, replaced by someone with clear eyes and a straight spine. The CEO of SellerSync Solutions with 35 employees and offices in Seattle and Santa Rosa. The woman whose software now manages inventory for 62% of West Coast retail chains. Karen's board is facing budget cuts, Serena had continued. Her position isn't as secure as it once was. She wants to discuss your future plans. Translation, now that you've succeeded despite us, we'd like a return on our neighborhood investment. The front door opens before I reach it. Serena balances a toddler on each hip. Their matching sweaters sporting embroidered turkeys. You look fantastic, she says, meaning I look expensive. My cashmere coat probably costs more than her monthly HOA dues. Inside, the clubhouse smells of sage and tension. Karen rushes forward to embrace me, her perfume unchanged since my first violation notice. We've been following your success in the papers, she says, arms stiff around my shoulders. Pastor Williams called last Sunday, asking if you might speak to the youth group about entrepreneurship. He mentioned something about honoring thy neighborhood president being good business practice. Behind her, Karen's husband stands with his hands in his pockets, silver hair combed impeccably. He looks smaller somehow, less mythic than the woman who once tore my business plan in half. The prodigal returns, he says, offering a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. A community friend I barely recognize clasps my hand at the dinner table. Karen says you're finally coming to your senses. Always knew you'd find your way back. I take a long sip of the California Cabernet my company's software helped distribute. 2 hours in, between pumpkin pie and coffee, Karen clears her throat. The clubhouse roof will need proper repair funds. The board can't possibly manage the special assessment on current dues. Serena stares intently at her plate. Neighborhood responsibility, Karen continues. Now that you've had this lucky break in the tech world. Lucky break. As if 3 years of sleeping on a garage floor and eating nothing but oatmeal and lentils was luck. As if 60-hour work weeks and rejected loan applications were luck. As if the Tech Foundry magazine that just called me the $45 million retail tech wonder was reporting on a lottery win. The neighbor touches my arm. Not all of us have tech salaries, dear. The legal fees have become quite burdensome with Karen's stress treatments. The familiar pressure builds behind my ribs, the same sensation I felt when companies that once rejected my applications now tried to poach my employees. The same feeling I had giving a standing ovation keynote at the industry conference that once wouldn't even sell me a vendor ticket. I open my purse and remove a manila folder, placing it gently between the cranberry sauce and the gravy boat. These might interest you, I say, voice steady as I slide out 3 documents. This first one documents the educational grants from the Sapphire Scholars Foundation that have been paying the clubhouse roof repairs for the past 7 months. The foundation is a subsidiary of my company's philanthropic arm. Karen's face greens as she stares at the paperwork. The neighbor's hand freezes midway to her water glass. This second document is a consulting contract covering the board's legal expenses, $2, $300 quarterly, retroactive to January. You've been cashing the checks, so I assumed you knew. Serena's eyes widen. I had no idea. And this is verification of the 501c3 that's been covering the community pool maintenance, $11,200 annually. All properly structured, tax compliant, and already in place. The silence stretches like taffy, sticky and uncomfortable. I've been helping since I could. I continue, folding my napkin precisely. Not because you deserve it, but because I choose to be better than the example I was given. Karen snatches the papers, scanning them with narrowed eyes. These must be fake. Some publicity stunt. I stand, straightening my shoulders just as I did that night in my driveway years ago. The support ends today. I'll have my CFO process the termination paperwork tomorrow. Rain taps against the clubhouse windows as I walk to my car, echoing that night long ago. But this time the rhythm sounds like applause rather than sorrow. Hours later, I pull into the circular driveway of a Gulfview villa in Naples, Florida. My realtor waves from the porch of the 4,900 square foot property, keys dangling from her fingers. SellerSync's Gulf Coast headquarters opens next week with 3 major distributor contracts pending that will push our valuation to $65.4 million. My phone buzzes with a text from Sabine. Did you tell them about the AI rollout and the IPO talks? I watch the waves crash against the shore beyond my new backyard as I type my reply. Some chapters of my story aren't for everyone to read. A year later, I raise my glass as sunset flames dance across the Gulf waters, turning my backyard into a canvas of amber and gold. Around the long teak table, 20 faces turn toward me. My team, my chosen family, their conversations fading to attentive silence. To Beth Wilson, I announce, nodding toward the young woman at the far end of the table. Her fingers twist nervously in her lap, cheeks flushed with a mixture of pride and disbelief. The first recipient of the Forge Wave grant for founders without HOA approval. Applause ripples around the table as I continue. $200,000 to develop soil sensor technology for small farms that can't afford the big commercial systems. The words echo my own pitch from 7 years ago. Though I now stand on a limestone patio in Naples instead of a garage in Pinecrest where rulebooks once scattered at my feet. When I started SellerSync, someone told me I needed neighborhood permission to build something real. My gaze lingers on the sunset rather than the memories. Beth proves what I've always known. Innovation doesn't wait for approval slips. Beth stands, her voice steady despite the tears gathering in her eyes. My HOA wanted me to finish community compliance classes before pursuing this. They said hobby skills don't build property values. A ripple of knowing laughter passes through the group. Adrian catches my eye from across the table, his smile reflecting our shared history. Now you'll build something they can't ignore, I tell her. After dinner, I lead Beth through the glass doors into SellerSync's Gulf Coast headquarters. Unlike the suffocating darkness of my old garage, these spaces breathe with natural light even at dusk. Open floor plans, glass walls, and windows that frame the water rather than shutting out the world. This was once the dining room, I explain, showing her the dedicated desk space that will be hers for the 6-month incubation period. Now it's where our marketing team works. Beth runs her fingers along the polished surface of the conference table. You've built all this in 4 years with help. I admit something my younger self would have found impossible to acknowledge. The most valuable asset isn't funding. It's finding people who see what others miss. Later, when the guests have gone and only Adrian remains, we stand on the balcony watching stars replace the sunset. The early summer breeze carries the scent of jasmine from the garden below. Remember when you couldn't afford dinner? Adrian asks, handing me a glass of iced tea. Oatmeal for breakfast, lentils for dinner. I laugh. Now I have a chef on staff, and I still sometimes forget to eat. My phone buzzes with Sabine's text. That kid reminds me of you. Stubborn as hell. She'll go far. Adrian leans against the railing. You're changing lives, not just building software. I'm opening doors, I correct him, thinking of all the doors once closed to me. Not because anyone deserves a chance, but because everyone does. Below us, the pool lights illuminate the company logo etched in tile. No longer the old garage, but SellerSync Solutions valued at $98 million in last month's acquisition offer. The decision to sell or grow independently sits in a folder on my desk, entirely mine to make. Freedom, I've learned, isn't measured in dollars, but in choices that belong solely to you. Success isn't proving critics wrong. It's building something so right they become irrelevant to your story. I turn from the view to find Adrian watching me, patient as always. What are you thinking about? He asks. The difference between houses and homes, I answer, taking his hand. And how some families you choose.